So you mentioned being able to see again. Can you talk about what you saw before the surgery and what you can see today? Hello and welcome back to part 2 of my amazing conversation with the one and only Marta. I cannot wait for you guys to see where her story goes next. You will not believe it. But first, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, HelloFresh. They make videos like this happen where I have to literally fly to Spain to meet up with Marta. So thank you, HelloFresh, for sponsoring this video. And before I tell you how wonderful HelloFresh is, I want to tell you how wonderful the deal they are giving you is. You can use code MollyBurke50 for 50% off. 50% off plus free shipping. Now, their summer menu is killing it. I had so many good meals in my box this past week. I ate the leftovers every morning for breakfast. Delicious. The summer vibes are oozing out of these meals. And not only can you get meals, but you can also add snacks and sides. So you can spend less time in the grocery store this summer and more time in the sun enjoying your best life. It also helps cut down on food waste. You get to try new and inspiring flavors and meals that you maybe wouldn't have thought of. You cannot go wrong. So go to HelloFresh.com and use code MollyBurke50 on checkout to get 50% off your order plus free shipping. All right, now let's hear about how Marta got her sight back.
So before the surgery, I had some myopia and some astigmatism. I think you guys call it in English. But my sight was pretty good. Like I used to wear like contacts, like it was pretty good. I used to complain to David, like, oh, you wake up and you see good. You don't need contacts to see. I was like,
the irony of
life. Just like, oh yeah, you're complaining about this? Let me show you something, you know? But no, and
then after the accident.
Yeah, after the accident, I couldn't see anything. Like, it was just, I mean, I could detect light. So I could see like, I was really, well, I am really sensitive to the light. Yeah.
As a lot of us are in the blind community.
Yes, yeah. It has gotten better. Like I'm way more used to it now. But at the beginning, it was just nothing. Not like, oh, I see shapes. No, I can't see anything. Sometimes, and people are like, oh, you see black. I mean, yeah, it's black, but it's so brightening that it's almost like white. You know, it's funny. It's funny. And then
and you lived like that for months.
Yes,
that was your reality. And you learned to use a cane eventually, and you learned how to use voiceover, and you were fully living as a completely blind person.
Yes. I was blind for a year and a month, almost like 400 days. Like I have a lot of dates in my head.
Yeah, right. It's all the key dates, all the anniversaries, the good and the bad.
Yeah, how couldn't I? It's like that. But, and I always had hope on like getting my sight back, but I'm also like a person of action.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I feel like there has to be a solution for me, but even if it does't, like, what am I gonna do now? Just sitting down in the couch and wait for people to do everything for me? I was like, no. And I just took, I took what happened to me as like a pretty drastic experiment. I was like, you know, maybe one day I get my sight back and this is just gonna be temporary. I'm just gonna experiment with it, and I'm gonna see how far I can get, and I'm gonna explore my limits, and let's just go with it. You know, it was a little rock and roll, I don't know. And I started first with my phone.
Yeah.
Then I started, or I don't know in what order, but yeah, I learned how to cook on the stove, the microwave, make laundry, pull out money from the ATM, learn how to use money, learn apps, because thank God to technology. Oh my God. Oh, that just made my life so much easier.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is technology unlocks so much freedom and independence.
So much.
When it's made to be accessible.
No, yeah, when it's good. Yeah, when it's good. Because then you go to like
an inaccessible website or app.
And it's like all like
you can't do anything.
Yeah, I know all full of like these
images.
And the just pop up. Yeah, I hate it. But no, when it's well done, it's just amazing. And with all these apps that they literally read you documents, or they tell you the colors of your clothes, so you know that you're not mixing and messing up your cute white dresses or whatever, you know. But yeah, my biggest challenge was using my cane, and I always talk about this in my conferences, and I think it's just really funny how in life one of the first things you learn to do is walk. You first walk, and then maybe you learn how to use your phone, how to cook, how to use your stove, etc., etc. But in my case, or when you're blind, or you know, depending on your situation, it was funny because I learned how to do everything first, and the last thing, the most difficult one, was to walk. I thought it was so ironic, right? Because it's like, I mean, it has like it's you need to be brave also to go out in the street and hey, go ahead and walk when you don't see anything.
Cross the street, you don't see anything. Cross the street.
It's already scary when you have your 5 senses. People are crazy on the road, you know, but it's an act of faith. But at the end I was like, you know, just living itself is an act of faith. It's like that. So yeah, I learned how to do all this stuff. Just, I always say, like, everything that you can imagine except seeing, obviously depending on of the barriers of the place, of the, you know, the accessibility barriers, you know, but everything excepting seeing, I was able to do.
So what is it like learning to be blind or adapting to blindness in Spain? Because the way you do it in Spain is actually quite unique and different to how we do it in North America. So I'd love for you to talk about the organization that exists here and the system to learning your skills and what the accessibility for blind people is like here versus in America.
Wow, so honestly, I can't compare with America because honestly, I haven't even seen a blind person there. But that already, it's a pretty big indicative, you know? It tells you a lot about that. Here in Spain, we have this organization. It's called ONCE, O-N-C-E, which literally means like National Organization of Blind in Spain. And this started, I don't know if you want me to go into this, but okay, it's pretty amazing. This started last century when the blind people, they started like selling lottery in the street just to get money because most of them, they were homeless. They didn't have a living. And at first it was illegal, and then they arranged it with the government, and they made it legal, so they would give work to disabled people, especially, well, in that moment, blind people. Now it's like all kind of disabilities they help. So these blind people, they have their own little department in the street. There's a few, like depending on the neighborhood you're in, and so they sell lottery with this system. What they're doing is, first of all, you're giving access and jobs, a lot of jobs to disabled people, and with this money you are creating this so with this money from the lottery, what you're doing is creating these whole technicians that they help you. For example, in my case, there were 3 people, my therapist, my Tyflo technology technician, that is the person who taught me with technology, like my phone, my computer, etc. And then your rehab technician, that it's the person who helps you being as independent as you can with your disability and your skills and your age, whatever. So everything went super rolled out, and they taught me how to use the computer, the phone, and everything that you can possibly imagine. But it is for free, so it's amazing.
And because of this, what I think is the most amazing is, compared to Canada, where I grew up with 80% unemployment for the blind, America, depends on the statistic, I've heard anywhere from 70 to 80% unemployment for the blind. Here in Spain, because of this, there is less than 5% unemployment for the blind.
It's incredible. Which
is incredible.
Yes.
And I noticed, like, in the streets, there's these tactile markings for canes to follow that we don't have in America. And there's the buttons, the accessible remote controls that make every single light accessible. And there's so many different little things that I think are such, there's Braille on so many more things here, on packaging and things like that. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah. Honestly, like, gladly, Spain's a pretty well country to be living if you're blind, because
I actually Googled best countries in the world to live if you're blind, and Spain was in the top.
Yes, and mainly because of this organization, like how everything started, and they saw it's like, okay, we can make a business and we can help people. Like, it's just a win-win for everyone. It's just amazing.
And I think that's why you were saying, like, when you lived in America, you literally never saw a single blind person.
No.
Whereas growing up in Spain, blindness was more normalized to you because you saw blind people all the time, in the streets selling these tickets and things. And I think that's what you're saying. It's like indicative of that. It's like blind people here are in society. They're integrated more wholly and fully into society and given more opportunities.
Exactly.
Which in turn normalizes it much more for non-disabled and for sighted people, which is amazing.
Yes, it's just well, the first step, I think, to change society and to have more of an accessible world. Yeah, the tactile and the braille, everything is important, but I think the root of it is education. And
preaching to the choir, girl. I say the exact same thing. Authentic representation leads to education, and it all goes down from there, because when society is educated, they're more open to hiring disabled people, they're more open to dating disabled people, they're more open to seeing disabled people as parents. Like, it all trickles down from education and authentic representation.
Yes, they don't have the ignorance, they don't have the fear of like, oh my god, if this person is blind, will he be able to be competent for my job? And
they already know, because they've seen it, they've learned it, they know what exists to help us and the tools that we have to be able to do everyday things. But every single day I still get questions that are like, if you're blind, how are you replying to comments? It's like, come on now, we live in 2023.
I know,
like,
there's people going to Mars and
you don't think they thought, hey, maybe blind people want to use phones too. Like, it's just the ignorance that exists is what leads to, in my opinion, basically 100% of the discrimination that we face.
Yes.
And education, in my opinion, comes through authentic representation in all forms of media, which is social media, mainstream media, music, radio, television, books, TV, cartoons for kids. We need it everywhere, because when blindness, when disability in general, is something that is so normal to you, you don't discriminate against it.
Exactly. It's just one more person. That's all. That's all we are.
Yeah,
absolutely. So after a year and a half, a year and a month, my doctors were like, okay, so when we saved this eye and put the skin of your mouth and did all this, we also put some silicone in your eye inside, for it to not be able, like physically able to shrink.
Right. To maintain the shape.
Exactly, like to maintain the size.
Structure and integrity.
Yes. And they were like, okay, this silicone, this plastic saved you at the moment, but now it's becoming toxic, so it's time to remove it. And you know, the eye is pretty good, the skin of your mouth has turned pretty good into the skin of your eye. I think you're ready, we can put a prosthesis. And I was like, whoa, what? Like, I wasn't ready for this. I thought you guys would attack the other eye, which is technically better. They were like, no, this is like a spare tire. This is a spare tire, and we'll just try to see what happens. So they put me this prosthesis. So this is for people that a cornea transplant, it's just too risky, and it's most likely not going to work because of the surface. It's way too damaged. Mostly people with autoimmune disease, with all the inflammation, or chemical burns or burns period. And I had a lot of anatomy missing in my eye. So they had this thing called BK Pro, Boston Keras prosthesis. There's different types. I think mine is type 2 or type 1. I can't remember. Anyways,
so much. I can't even imagine how much medical jargon.
Yeah, no, I know.
You've had to remember.
No, I know. I'm almost like an ophthalmologist now. But I know I could have like my own consultory. No, but I'm saying this just in case that, you know, everybody, like, somebody needs it.
If there's somebody else going through something similar. Absolutely.
Yeah. Because obviously it's not like a regular eye, but like anything that you can gain back, it's helpful. So,
absolutely. I mean, any little bit of vision that you get back is helpful. Like, for me, I've lost some of my light perception in the past few years, and even though I was still, like, I was already very close to fully blind and had very little usable vision already, losing that little bit of light, even though I still have some left, that still changes things. That still changes things.
Yes.
I still notice, and even though to a sighted person it's such an insignificant loss because they don't think what I have is anything to begin with. For me, I learned to use every little bit.
Absolutely.
So even if you can only gain a tiny bit back, the difference is huge.
It's crazy. Like,
and so they thought they'd be able to get a little bit of light for you.
Yeah, maybe because I was able to detect, like, but maybe like some shapes, like maybe I can see, like, if I move the hand around your face, maybe that, you know. But I don't know, like, apparently in the first surgery they put the retina such in a good place. The doctors were amazing, and it was crazy. This is just crazy. I'm gonna try not to cry, because when I cry, my processes get all blurred and I stop seeing everything. But so they did this surgery with like 4 doctors or whatever, and the day after, I was so nervous, didn't sleep at all, anything. Like I was like high in cortisone with all the inflammation, and I was like, I'm not able to sleep. They took me to this room and they uncovered my eye. And it was funny because in the room, you know, my mom, my dad were there, David, my partner, and a lot of other doctors. And it was funny because when they uncovered it, I could almost read my mom's thoughts. And she was thinking like, and she said it to me after, like, I swear I was thinking that. She was thinking like, oh, she's not saying anything. She can't see, like, this didn't work. And that's exactly what I was thinking too. Like, I was like, oh my God, I can't see, this didn't work. But the thing is that they made a hole in like my skin, like in the globe of my eyes, so I was able to see, you know. Because I don't want to get too technical, but basically in the first surgery, they covered my eye with the skin of the mouth. And in the second one, to give me my sight back, they lifted up, they put the prosthesis, and they covered it back again. So then to see, like, my eye is like covered, so they have to make a little hole.
Right.
So that is basically a wound. It's like having a piercing done.
Right.
Like a hole in your ear.
It needs to heal.
Exactly. And when you get a piercing done, it's like full of like blood and crusty.
Yeah, and they say, and they're like, don't change the jewelry for 2 months.
Exactly.
And then years later, it's like a
normal,
just totally normal skin.
Exactly.
And,
So that's like the best metaphor that I can find. So I couldn't see anything basically because the hole was like so dirty, and I was like that, like, oh my God, it didn't work. And the doctor like pulled out like her gadgets and all that, started cleaning my eye, and all of a sudden I was like, I was seeing through the machine and I saw an S and an L, and I was like, what is that? What are those letters? She's like, oh my God, those are like the sizes of the boxes of the gloves. And they were at the other side of the room, and I could see that, and I was like, this is so insane. And then I just turned around and I just like started seeing everyone. And the messed up part is like every time I would cry, it would get blurry.
So you then have to clear it again.
Especially because it was really, really dirty at the moment. Now it's like, it's better, and I've learned how to cry like moving my eyes so it doesn't get too messy, you know. But it was insane. I was like to the doctor, please, can you clean my process again, please? And then one of the doctors like took out her phone and like showed to me, and she was like, can you read these letters? And I was like, Wednesday, 7th of July of 2021. She was like, you know, the letters of the iPhone. Yeah. And she was like, I can't believe like this is a miracle. Like this is an absolute miracle. Like
to think that you would get maybe some shadow perception.
Yes.
And to be immediately reading letters on an iPhone,
yes,
reading boxes across the room,
yes,
seeing your family's faces, after they had told you in America there's no hope.
Yes.
You're never going to see again. You will be fully blind with maybe slight light perception for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And a year and 1 month later, you're seeing.
It was incredible. And you know, that was a confirmation that I'm not saying don't listen to your doctor, obviously, but like always, you know, don't like be ambitious and don't settle for a no. Like always go and look. There's always going to be a solution. And you know, if you can't find a solution, it's worth trying. You know,
mm-hmm,
it's worth trying. It's worth, you know, you're going to learn a lot of things out of there. You know, you're going to meet a lot of people in that journey. So just don't settle for a no. And yeah, it was just incredible. And like, I was like, this is just like freaking movie.
Literally, I mean, my mom literally earlier today was like, her life's gonna be a movie one day. Her story's gonna be a movie one day. And
it's incredible.
It truly is incredible. And so today you're still fully blind in your one eye,
mm-hmm,
but in the other you have close to 20/20.
Yes. Yes.
With some limitations, of course, because it is not like a typical eye.
Mm-hmm.
So what are those limitations, and how do you live with this prosthesis?
So first of all, with the light is like my lover and my enemy, you know. Mm-hmm. Like I need light now if I want to see, but I just get blinded really quick. And then this prosthesis, thank you, I was saying it wrong. And David wasn't correcting me, really bad. This prosthesis, it's kind of like an old camera, I always say. So this is a hole, so it's like a lens, so it gets dirty. I have to use a lot of eye drops because my eyelid doesn't close completely. My eyes dry out a lot, so I have to be using eye drops constantly. Yeah. I have to do a lot of cleaning with like serum if I don't want to get infections, because there's a high risk of infection. And yeah, just the light, a lot of cleaning, a lot of eye drops. It's basically more like a chronic disease now.
Right.
I take it like, because it's a lot of maintenance. I can't just improvise and be
right.
like, oh, I'm just gonna take a backpack and go 3 weeks around California or Costa Rica, because like that backpack is probably just gonna be medicines, you know, like
yeah.
serums and gauze but
so you're wearing an eye mask when you sleep?
Yes, I wear eye mask. I use a lot of like lubricants, and I can show it to them. I have like these little Q-tips. They're like for ophthalmic procedures, and I use that to clean my lens. It's like a Q-tip for your ear, but just to clean the lens. And
you have no feeling of that. You can't feel yourself cleaning. I
feel it, but if it's like wet and my eye is wet, it doesn't hurt. Like I know, I have a lot of practice now. But basically, it's just insane because when I go to sleep, whenever I put like lubricant or eye drops or whatever, I basically stop seeing. Right. Then I put my mask on and I keep using my voiceover. Or maybe it's yeah. Or like sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy because I live in between two worlds. Like if I go out and there's a lot of light, or I do a lot of things, or I'm a lot of the time working on the computer, I need to stop. My head really hurts and I have to cover my eyes. Yeah. And maybe I'm just like cooking without seeing again, but I still practice all the skills that I've learned, because it's just a lot of work for me to see.
Yes, and I can imagine after 13 months of being completely blind, and then seeing again like that unexpectedly, seeing so much again must have been mentally very overstimulating and very overwhelming, and you must have had to, I'm sure probably at the beginning, cover your eyes a lot more than you do now. But even now, like, do you ever still bring your cane out just in case of like transitioning with light being hard and stuff like that? Or
I should, but I'm like pretty reckless sometimes. But it's mostly nighttime. But if I always like take my flashlight on my phone, and that just helps. But I've actually forgot it today. I'm always with my hat, with my cap. Yeah. That helps me with the light, that and my sunglasses. I
think it's so interesting because you've had this experience of living life as somebody with near 20/20 vision, then living your life as somebody who was basically completely blind. And then now, as you said, living this in-between world, which is actually how so many people in the blind community feel, because the majority of blind people do have some form of remaining vision. Yeah. Some people can see near perfect during the day and are completely blind at night. Some people, are slowly losing their vision, as I have over time. And it's hard to feel like, okay, I'm not a sighted person, but I can see. I'm not a fully, you're living in this in-between, and you still do. You have moments where you completely cover your eyes and you rely solely on these skills you developed as a fully blind person. And then you have these moments where you have the right lighting, you're not tired, you haven't overused your vision, your lens is clean and lubricated and hydrated, and you're well rested, and you can basically see perfect. And it must be such an interesting experience, and you've, I'm sure, developed so much empathy for both worlds. And
yeah, but it's funny because like when this happened and with this that you're saying, it's when you realize that we are such a social animal. Like we need to feel like we belong to something, because sometimes it's like I don't feel entitled to say that I'm disabled, and I need a lot of gadgets, and I am disabled. I am a disabled person.
Absolutely.
But then sometimes I'm like, I don't want to say normal because I kind of hate that word. I would say standard, but I feel like I don't have a standard life. Like, so it's kind of it gives you a lot of tolerance just to see everything and not judging, and that is something also that blindness has given me, and without an intention to romanticize, like to make it look like something that it's not. without intention to do that with a disability, because it's hard to live with a disability.
Yes.
Basically because the world is designed for people that see,
Yep.
that have 2 legs, that that are fully mobile. So it's not easy. But I also think like they're like seeing is such a dictatorship sense. Like it gives you so much information that it could be wrong. The typical cliche of like
Right.
judging a book by its
Yes.
cover.
Yeah.
You know, that it's, I don't know. I've taken a lot of good lessons out of this.
I think that that's very clear. You just emanate goodness and power, and it's only been literally the 3-year anniversary just happened. It's only been 3 years, and for you to have gone through all of this and have the perseverance and the attitude that you do is like, it's genuinely inspiring. And I'm not saying that in like a inspiration porn way. Truly, like you're a very inspiring person, and that's why I wanted to have you on my channel. And you've written a book already, which recently came out. Go grab your book. Go grab your book so we can show the book.
So yeah, I started writing a book. Actually, it's called Cuando perdí mis ojos marrones. That means when I lost my brown eyes. And it's the story of what happened to me, but it's in the shape of a novel. First of all, to like protect certain people around me, and also just because, just to have fun.
Yeah.
To make the person wonder like, oh, is this true? Is this not? But all the experience like with my eyes and with like the world of the blindness, all that is true. Because I wanted people to like to know a little bit how's the day of a blind person, and how a
real day of a blind person.
Yes. And for example, there's a couple chapters I literally explain how a blind person goes on a walk, and like the references that has to use, and like and like the obstacles
the
that you
sounds
run into,
and the tactile feedback,
and like there's a car that it's not parked in the correct spot, and just all that. And also for people to see that we are just people, that we need more help. We're not like little kids that you have to treat us differently, like just for them to empathize with the story. But yeah, and I decided to I actually started writing this when I was still blind, and I learned how to use the computer, because ever since I was at the hospital, the second day I was like, this is crazy, and one day I'm gonna write a book about this. And then like such surreal things were happening that I was like, I have to write a book. Like I really need to. Yeah. And obviously because I always loved writing, So after I learned how to use technology to do it back again, I was like, I gotta do this. So yeah, and this is just my little book. I'm super proud of it. It also has like some love with like my story with my husband, and a lot of flashbacks. It's honestly, it's not okay for me to say, but it's a phenomenal book.
I wish I could read it. So there is an audiobook and a print version, but they are only available in Spanish. But I'm sure I have tons of you who know Spanish. So I'm going to leave links down below to all of Marta's social media, as well as where you could get the book if you're interested in reading the story and following the rest of her journey.
Marta, will you do it in English?
Yes, I actually want to translate it. And the book has just been out for like 2 months, or not even 3 months. But I'm foreseeing that they'll translate it to English. I mean,
and a movie.
Well, that might actually happen too. I mean, it's just pretty crazy. Like talking to my friends, they were like, honestly, because we are so used to like you are our friend and everything, but this is freaking crazy. Like there's documentaries in Netflix with not so
less crazy stories. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, and no, it's also good for people, like for us to be out there, for the other people to see like, okay, there's more people like me out there. Yes, I'm not alone, and I'm not a Martian, and I'm just a human, and all this is normal. So
if there is one thing you wish sighted people understood about blindness, what would it be? And I know that's a hard question because I get asked similar ones, and I'm like, well, there's 10 things.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's difficult to explain because it's a feeling, and it's hard to put it into words, but it's like a feeling of like being misunderstood all the time, a feeling of like, I'm just like you. I can see, but I'm just like you. Because sometimes people treat you like, and people that I knew from before, they started treating me differently. I'm like, hey, I'm blind. I'm not dumb, you know?
Yeah,
Like, you can talk normal to me. Like,
I always say who I am didn't change, just how I do things did.
Exactly. It's just, you know, it's like if you break your leg for a few days or a few months, you might have to use crutches, but you are still you. You just need help, and you need assistance of certain things. In this case, crutches. And for us, it's like technology, canes, guided dogs. So we will probably be like, I just maybe like to be one day as blind person to understand that feeling, like, okay, that lonely feeling that maybe just blind people have. Yeah, like, okay, I have this feeling because you guys don't understand that I'm just like you.
And what would one message be that you could give other people who, like you, have gone blind very suddenly and unexpectedly, and maybe have been having a harder time coming to terms with it or accepting or adapting to their new world of blindness?
I would tell them that obviously it's hard. It's hard to adapt because, as we were saying, the world's not made for blind people. But I would tell them that there's a lot of ways to live and a lot of ways to be happy, because happiness is not like how it's not about your senses. It's about moments, and like the moments that make you thrive. And a lot of the times, and a lot of the good things in life, they're done with like your eyes closed, you know?
Yeah.
When you're meditating or you're having yoga or you're kissing someone, the first thing they ask you, like, close your eyes. Why? Because you're connecting with a more internal world. Yeah. And I would tell them not to, it's hard, but not to believe all this like stigma that society has, and just try to take it as an experiment and listen to their body and try to push themselves to their limits to see how happy they can get to be. Because honestly, for me it was beautiful how blindness connected me to more of like in a spiritual world, you know? I've always been like pretty like deep spirit, or had a spiritual world within me, but blindness definitely gives you that. So there's also good things to explore, and I would tell them like, just focus on your good things and just try to like just keep swimming like Dory, you know, just keep swimming.
What are you doing today? Like, what is your job? What do you do for work? What is your goal?
So at this very moment, I'm working with social media, with Instagram. I'm about to open a YouTube channel. I do conferences and talks. That's like the thing that I like the most, honestly. And well, that and writing. So yeah, I just published a book. I'm about to write my second book. But basically, it's just divulgation. That's my main job right now.
You were meant to be exactly who you are, Marta. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Our community is lucky to have someone like you.
And someone like you, oh my God.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on my channel. I'm so glad we're friends now, and like we've met in real life. And
I know.
I mean, I keep saying I feel like we're kindred spirits from across the ocean. You know,
yeah, exactly.
I think we're in each other's lives now forever. So I'm so excited. Thank you for sharing your story with my audience and with the world. I know that we both share the belief that everything happens for a reason, and that our destiny is predetermined. That our life is already laid out before us, and we're just here to walk it. And I think our embodiments of that, I think like just the way in which I was following you, a complete non-influencer with a small Instagram account, before this ever, like just months before this happened to you. And when I reached out, I didn't know that you were in Barcelona. I just knew that you were in Spain. And I was like, by the off chance, I'm going to be in Barcelona. Will you be anywhere near there? And you're like, that's where I live. Like, I think it's just crazy. And yeah, I'm just so glad we met. And this is a lifelong friendship.
Thank you.
Yay.